You don't belong here, Johnson. Men like you clean the latrines, not carry rifles. The words slammed into me like a punch to the chest, loud enough for the whole barracks to hear. The other recruits froze, some smirking, some pretending not to notice, but every single one of them listening. Sergeant Collins stood over me, his voice dripping with contempt, daring me to fight back. I didn't. I just kept my eyes on the concrete floor, jaw locked, blood burning in my ears. Somewhere down the row, someone chuckled under their breath, and the laughter spread like wildfire through the room. My boots weren't even broken in yet, and already I was the joke of the unit, and all I could think was, so this is how it starts. That night, the barracks smelled of sweat, canvas, and damp wool. Every bunk lined tight, boots polished and set like soldiers in formation. My own pair, secondhand from the base supply, sat dull beside my bunk, no matter how hard I scrubbed. Collins had noticed. He noticed everything. He prowled through the rows like a wolf, hunting for weakness. When his eyes landed on me, they stayed too long. Your father mopped floors somewhere, Johnson? Is that what you're here to do? Keep my barracks clean? The laughter came again, sharper this time, cutting deeper. I wanted to say my father had worn a uniform too, that he'd fought in a war most of these men only read about. But I swallowed the words because out here, nobody cared about what you said, only what you proved. At Chow the next day, the humiliation didn't stop. Daniels, the kind of recruit who thought he'd already won the war just by enlisting, slapped my tray from my hands as I stepped in line. The crash of metal on tile echoed through the mess hall. Beans, cornbread, and gravy smeared across the floor at my boots. Daniels grinned wide, leaning in close. Guess you'll feel right at home cleaning this up. A few laughed, some shook their heads, but no one moved. I bent down slowly, gathered what I could, and left the mess on the floor. Inside, my stomach boiled, but on the outside, I stayed still. A soldier behind me, Hernandez, a quiet kid from Texas, shifted uncomfortably, his eyes soft with something close to pity. He didn't speak, but I saw it. That silence mattered more than the laughter. I spent nights with the barracks lights dimmed, polishing boots until my fingers bled, studying the manual while others slept or joked around. Discipline was all I had, and I clung to it like a lifeline. Every insult, every laugh, every sideways glance stacked on my shoulders like extra weight in a rucksack. Collins was relentless. During inspection, he'd flip my bunk, scatter my gear, force me to redo it while the others watched. Pathetic, he'd bark. You'll be the first one to break. His words bit deep, but I didn't break. Not then, not ever. I thought of my father's old photo tucked in my pocket, his face in uniform, his eyes steady. He never broke. Neither would I. Sometimes the silence hurt more than the shouting. In the barracks after lights out, whispers floated about who was strong, who was weak, who wouldn't make it. My name came up too often. They thought I didn't hear, but I did. I heard everything. And in those moments, I clenched my fists under the blanket, breathing slow, forcing myself to believe one day the truth would come out. Not through my words, through my actions. What I never expected was that the moment would come sooner than anyone imagined. Collins thought he was breaking me. Daniels thought he was proving himself stronger. Even the quiet ones thought I'd fade into the background, forgotten. But I wasn't forgotten. I was preparing. Every insult was fuel. Every humiliation was training. Every night spent awake was another step closer. They didn't see it yet, but a storm was coming. And when it broke, none of them would be ready. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The rain didn't just fall that night. It pounded, hard and cold, like it had been ordered to test us. We were out in the mud pit, push-ups until our arms trembled, our faces pressed into the ground, water mixing with sweat. Everyone up except Johnson. He stays down, Sergeant Collins barked, and the others sprang to their feet, grateful it wasn't them. I stayed, chest burning, arms shaking, mud grinding against my skin. Collins circled me like a predator. What's wrong, Johnson? Too heavy. Or maybe you just don't have the blood for this. The squad laughed nervously, even Daniels, who loved seeing me struggle. I dug my hands deeper into the muck, whispered under my breath, "One more. Just one more." It was the only way I survived. One rep, one breath, one insult at a time. When the whistle blew and we were finally dismissed, the others marched back toward the barracks, stomping boots squishing against the soaked ground. I was ordered to run extra laps around the track alone. The rain stung my face, blurred my vision, but I forced each step, my legs heavy like sandbags. I could hear Daniel's voice in my head. "Bet he quits by morning." My chest heaved, but something inside me refused to give him that satisfaction. With every stride, I repeated my father's words. Endure. One more rep. By the time I staggered into the chow hall, soaked and shivering, dinner was almost over. The smell of meatloaf and coffee hung thick. Most of the guys were already laughing, trading jokes, shoving trays aside. I grabbed mine, hands still trembling, and slid into line. Daniel spotted me instantly. "Well, look who crawled out of the swamp," he sneered, loud enough for everyone. He jabbed my chest with his fork, smearing gravy across my wet shirt. "You missed the good stuff, janitor's boy. Better get used to scraps." The table erupted with laughter. I stared at my tray, jaw clenched, not giving him the reaction he wanted. Then out of nowhere, Hernandez, quiet Hernandez, slid half his cornbread onto my tray. He didn't look at me, didn't say a word, just kept eating like nothing happened. But that small gesture cut through the noise. For a moment I wasn't completely alone. Later that night, after lights out, the barracks was filled with whispers, the shuffle of cards, muffled laughter under blankets. I sat on my bunk polishing my boots, each stroke steady, mechanical, the leather slowly catching a dull shine. Daniels walked past and kicked the bunk frame, rattling it. "You think shiny boots make you a soldier?" he hissed. "You'll always be the guy cleaning up after real men." His words stung, but I kept polishing. He wanted me to snap, to fight back and prove him right. Instead, I leaned into the silence. Across the room, Hernandez glanced at me again, eyes soft, almost apologetic, like he wished he could say more. That look mattered. I tucked it away for later. Days blurred into weeks, drills, inspections, punishments. I carried extra weight on marches, Collins making sure of it. "Give Johnson the heavy pack," he ordered once, strapping sandbags to my shoulders while the rest watched. The straps cut into my skin, my back screaming with each mile. But halfway through the march, I noticed the guy ahead of me, Private Adams, stumbling, his knees buckling under his load. Without thinking, I shifted closer, lifted part of his pack onto my own. He didn't thank me, didn't even meet my eyes, just kept moving. And when Collins asked later why Adams had kept up, Adams said nothing. That silence hurt, but I told myself maybe one day someone would notice. The barracks had a rhythm, boots lined perfect by bunks, the smell of polish and sweat, the echo of shouted cadence from morning runs still ringing in our ears by nightfall. I kept my space neat, my rifle clean, my manuals open when others joked or slept. I studied the comms section, diagrams of radios, frequency charts. Nobody cared why. They saw me as the weak link, the janitor's kid struggling to keep up. But I was building something quietly, piece by piece. One evening during weapons cleaning, Daniels leaned over smirking. "You know what Collins says? First firefight, you'll drop your rifle and run." And honestly, I believe him. His words drew chuckles from the others, but I stayed silent, running the cloth along the barrel until it gleamed. "You ever gonna say anything?" he pressed. I looked up finally, my voice low. "When it counts." He sneered, but there was something in his eyes, confusion, maybe even unease. The breaking point came during a forced night march in freezing rain. Our squad was ordered to haul gear across uneven ground. No light, just the sound of boots sucking through mud. My pack was overloaded again, Collins making sure of it. Halfway through, my legs nearly buckled. Daniels hissed from behind me. "Told you he'd quit." The squad chuckled. Shame burned in my chest. But before I could stumble, I forced myself upright, teeth gritted, breath coming in sharp bursts. Then it happened. Hernandez tripped on a root, crashing down hard, his gear scattering. Everyone kept moving, no one stopping. Collins barked, "Leave him!" He'll catch up. But I didn't. I dropped my own pack, grabbed Hernandez's straps, and hauled him to his feet. Lean on me, I muttered. He resisted at first, but finally he did. Together we stumbled forward, packs heavy, the rain lashing our faces. The squad fell silent behind us, the laughter dying. For once, Daniels had nothing to say. Even Colin's voice faltered for a moment before he barked again, but softer, less certain. In that instant, the air shifted. They saw something they hadn't before. I wasn't the weakest. I wasn't the janitor's kid. I was the one caring more than anyone else, literally and figuratively, and still moving forward. When we finally reached the checkpoint, drenched and shivering, Colin scanned the formation, his jaw tight. Fall in, he barked. His eyes landed on me. Then Hernandez, still leaning slightly on my shoulder. He didn't say thank you. He didn't praise me, but he didn't mock me either. That silence said more than any insult ever had. I collapsed onto my bunk later, every muscle aching, boots caked in mud. Hernandez slid onto the bunk across from me, quiet as always. For the first time he spoke. They saw it, Johnson. Don't think they didn't. His words were simple, but they sank deep. Maybe he was right. Maybe cracks were forming in the wall of doubt around me. I thought that was the end of it. Just another night, another march, another punishment endured. But I was wrong. What happened out there in the rain was only the beginning. The real test, the moment that would break or define me, was still waiting up ahead. And none of us, not Collins, not Daniels, not even me, had any idea how fast it was coming. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The exercise was supposed to be routine, a night operation across the training grounds, a chance for the squad to prove they could work as one. But nothing about that night was routine. The air was sharp, the kind that bit your lungs with every breath. We moved under the red glow of chem lights, boots crunching over gravel, rifles slung, packs heavy with gear. Sergeant Collins stood at the front, arms crossed, smirk plastered across his face. Johnson, you're carrying the spare batteries. That's your role tonight. Don't screw it up. He said it loud, enough for everyone to hear. Daniel snorted, whispering to the guy next to him. Perfect. Give janitor boy the easy job so he can't mess it up. A ripple of laughter followed, thin but cutting. I stayed quiet, nodding once. Carrying batteries. That was my worth in their eyes. We set off toward the old bridge that stretched across the ravine, the objective for the exercise. Darkness pressed down heavy, the only sounds the rhythmic tramp of boots and the hiss of radios crackling with static. For the first mile, it was uneventful. But as we approached the tree line, the radios went dead. Just like that, silence. No comms, no guidance. Just the night swallowing everything. Collins cursed, tapping his headset. What the hell is this? He smacked the radio like it owed him something, then spun toward me. Johnson, you screw something up already? His voice echoed through the trees, sharp and accusing. Daniels piled on instantly. Told you he'd break the gear. Can't trust him with anything more complicated than a mop. The squad laughed nervously, tension bubbling under the surface. I checked the pack, heart hammering. The batteries were there, intact, dry. I hadn't touched the radios, hadn't done anything wrong, but Collins's glare was already drilling into me. Well, fix it, he barked. My hands shook slightly as I pulled the radio unit apart, eyes scanning the connections. I'd studied diagrams of this system late at night, when no one was watching. Now those hours whispered back to me. Loose wire, corroded contact. My fingers moved quickly, wiping moisture, reconnecting pieces. Daniels leaned over, sneering. Look at him pretending he knows what he's doing. This is going to be good. I didn't answer. I just kept working, breath shallow, focus razor sharp. Then suddenly, the headset crackled back to life. Voices poured through. Command, other squads, all coming in clear. The squad froze. Collins's mouth hung open for half a second before he snapped it shut. Move out, he growled. But the edge of doubt was there. They'd seen it. I had fixed what none of them could. We pushed forward, tension still thick. Mud sucked at our boots, the night colder with every step. Daniels wasn't done. He whispered just loud enough. Guess the janitor's kid can plug in batteries. Too bad he'll never carry the real weight. His words stung, but I let them pass. Hernandez glanced at me from the side, quiet, his eyes saying more than his lips ever would. Respect, not pity, real respect. The ground grew treacherous near the ravine, slick with rain from earlier. We spread out, keeping low. That's when it happened. Hernandez's boot slipped, his body pitching forward. His rifle clattered down the slope, and he nearly followed it into the black void below. Instinct took over. I dropped my pack, lunged, and caught his vest straps just as he slid past. My arms burned, my body straining as I hauled him back up inch by inch. Got you, I grunted, digging my boots into the mud. The squad scrambled around wide-eyed. Collins shouted, Leave him, Johnson. We don't have time. But I didn't let go. I pulled with everything in me until Hernandez was back on solid ground, gasping, shaking. He looked at me like he couldn't believe what just happened. Neither could Daniels. For once, his mouth was shut. We regrouped at the bridge, the objective looming in the dark. Collins gave orders, barking out positions, trying to reassert control. But the mood had shifted. They'd seen me fix the comms. They'd seen me save a man when others would have left him. And though no one said it, I felt the weight of their stares. Different now. Less mocking, more uncertain. Then came the moment that changed everything. Captain Ramirez himself appeared from the shadows, clipboard under his arm, expression unreadable. What's the delay here? He demanded. Collins straightened instantly, covering. Minor comms issue, sir. All handled. Ramirez's gaze swept the squad, sharp as a blade. His eyes landed on me. Handled by who? Collins hesitated, jaw tight. Johnson, sir. He tried to help. I caught the flicker in Ramirez's eyes. Recognition, calculation. He stepped closer. Johnson. Son of Marcus Johnson? The air shifted again. My throat tightened. Yes, sir. Ramirez paused, his voice lower now, almost personal. I served with your father. Man had grit like no other. Never backed down, never quit. The squad went dead silent. Daniels blinked, stunned. Collins looked like he'd swallowed a nail. Hernandez's eyes widened, and even the guys who had laughed before stared at me like they were seeing me for the first time. Ramirez's words echoed in the dark. Looks like the apple didn't fall far from the tree. The impact was explosive. Every insult, every humiliation, every moment I'd been dismissed collapsed in on itself. They hadn't just mocked me. They'd mocked the bloodline of a soldier who'd carried more than they ever knew. I felt my chest rise, not with arrogance, but with something steadier. Pride. Vindication. Collins shifted, trying to recover. With all respect, sir, he's still green. Still got a lot to prove. Ramirez's eyes cut into him. We all do, Sergeant. The question is, who steps up when it matters? Tonight, it wasn't you. The squad didn't cheer, didn't clap. That's not how the military works. But in that silence, something unspoken passed between us. A shift in gravity. They knew. I knew. Everything was different now. We completed the exercise, crossing the bridge, finishing the objective. Collins barked less. Daniels stayed quiet. Hernandez walked closer to me than before. When we returned to the barracks, boots thudding against the concrete floor, no one laughed. No one mocked. Hernandez clapped me on the shoulder once, a small gesture, but it felt heavier than any metal. Daniels lingered at the doorway, staring like he wanted to say something, but couldn't. Collins stormed past, face tight with anger and something else. Fear. Lying in my bunk later, staring at the ceiling, I thought about what had happened. The humiliation, the struggle, the silence I'd endured. It had all led to this. They didn't see the hours I spent studying. They didn't hear the whispers I muttered to keep myself moving. But they saw me tonight. They saw me stand when it mattered, and no one could take that away. What I never expected was how much that night would change the course of everything. Respect isn't shouted. It isn't handed out. It's earned in mud, in sweat, in the silence after you've proven yourself. That night, the balance shifted. And though Collins and Daniels wouldn't admit it, they knew. We all knew. The janitor's kid wasn't just carrying batteries anymore. He was carrying the squad. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The morning after the exercise, the barracks felt different. The usual noise, boots clanging against bunks, guys cursing about cold chow, Daniels making smart remarks, was strangely muted. Nobody looked at me the way they used to. Some avoided my eyes altogether, like they didn't know what to say. Others stared a little longer, like they were trying to piece together how the janitor's kid had pulled off what he did. For once, I wasn't the shadow in the corner. I was the guy everyone was talking about, even if they didn't say it out loud. Collins walked in, uniform sharp, jaw tight, like he had something bitter stuck in his throat. He didn't call me out like before, didn't mock me in front of the squad. He just barked, "Inspection in 10. That was it. No insults, no jabs. It should have felt like a victory, but there was something in his eyes, anger mixed with shame, that told me this wasn't over. Later in the chow hall, Daniels slid his tray across from mine. For weeks, he'd made a sport out of humiliating me. Now he just sat there, fork clinking against his plate, not looking me in the face. After a long pause, he muttered, "You saved Hernandez. I saw it." His voice was low, like he didn't want the others to hear. I waited, wondering if it was some new trick. But then he added, "Didn't think you had it in you." He didn't say thank you. Not exactly, but it was the closest he could get. And in this place, that meant something. The shift spread through the squad slowly, like fire catching dry grass. Hernandez started walking beside me more often, not saying much, just close enough that I knew I wasn't alone. Adams, the guy I'd helped carry once, offered me a canteen during a long march. Little things, nothing dramatic, but they added up. It was as if everyone realized in their own quiet way that the guy they'd written off wasn't going anywhere. But Collins wasn't ready to let it go. During an after-action review, Captain Ramirez asked for feedback. Collins cleared his throat, eyes sliding toward me. "With respect, sir, one good night doesn't change the fact Johnson still has a long way to go. He disobeyed a direct order when he refused to leave Hernandez behind." His words hit the air like a hammer. The squad froze, waiting for Ramirez's reaction. My chest tightened. Collins was twisting the truth, making my act of loyalty into insubordination. For a moment, I thought I was about to be crushed all over again. Ramirez leaned back, silent. The room was heavy with tension. Finally, Hernandez spoke. He wasn't loud, but his voice carried. "Sir, if Johnson had left me like Collins said, I'd be gone. He didn't disobey. He saved a soldier." Every head turned. Hernandez never spoke up. Ever. Now he was staring straight at the captain, his words firm, no hesitation. Daniels cleared his throat, surprising everyone. "He fixed comms too, sir. None of us would have finished the op without him." His voice cracked slightly, but the words were out. Collins' jaw tightened, his face going red. Ramirez looked at me, then back at Collins. "Funny thing about orders," he said slowly. "They mean nothing if you don't have men left to carry them out." Johnson understood that. That's leadership. The room shifted. Collins had no comeback. His authority cracked right there in front of everyone. The silence was deafening, the kind that says the balance of power just changed. That night in the barracks, the guys didn't whisper about me being weak. Instead, Adams asked me how I knew so much about radios. Hernandez told Daniels to shut up when he started to make a joke. And for once, Daniels actually did. Collins stormed past, shoulders stiff, not looking at anyone. He was losing them, and he knew it. I lay in my bunk, staring at the photo of my father I kept tucked under the mattress. For the first time, I felt like maybe I was walking the same path. He had not just carrying his shadow. The respect I'd been waiting for wasn't handed to me in a speech or a medal. It came in silence. Shifts in the way men looked at me, in the way they spoke less and listened more. The climax came 2 days later during a training run. Collins barked cadence, but his voice cracked when he tried to taunt me. The squad didn't join in like before. Instead, Hernandez started a rhythm, sharp and steady. 1, 2, 3, 4. The others echoed, voices strong, carrying through the morning air. I fell into step with them, and for the first time, the cadence wasn't a weapon against me. It was a wall I was part of. Colin's voice faded into the background, drowned out by the sound of men running together, shoulder to shoulder. That moment burned into me. It wasn't flashy, no applause, no announcement, just a squad moving as one, my name no longer the punchline. In that rhythm, I felt something I hadn't since stepping onto the base. I belonged. By the time we got back, even Collins had to face it. Ramirez pulled him aside, voice low but firm, and we all knew the conversation wasn't going in Collins' favor. When Ramirez dismissed us, he called out loud enough for everyone to hear. "Johnson, good work this week. Keep it up." That single acknowledgement hit harder than any insult Collins had ever thrown. That night, the barracks were quiet. No laughter at my expense. No whispers about me breaking. Just silence. And in that silence, I realized everything had changed. They no longer saw me as the weak link. I wasn't the outcast anymore. I was one of them. Maybe more. The janitor's kid had earned his place. And the ones who mocked me, they were the ones left scrambling to catch up. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. It was dawn when they called formation. The air was cold enough to sting the lungs, boots crunching against frost as the squad lined up. The flag rose slowly, colors catching the first light of the sun. We stood at attention, rifles at our sides, eyes forward. It should have been just another morning, but I felt something different in the air. You can tell when a unit changes. You feel it in the silence, the way men stand a little taller, the way they look at each other like they finally understand. Captain Ramirez stepped forward, his voice carrying strong. "This squad faced tests last week that went beyond drills. What matters is who stepped up when it counted." He let his eyes drift over the formation, landing squarely on me. For a split second, I thought maybe I was imagining it. But then he said, "Johnson, front and center." My legs felt heavy as I broke ranks, marching forward. Every eye followed me, the sound of my boots sharp against the concrete. Collins was off to the side, arms crossed, his jaw locked tight. I could feel his anger, but also something else, something he couldn't hide anymore. Defeat. I stood before Ramirez, heart pounding in my ears. He didn't make a speech. He didn't need to. He simply raised his hand and gave me a sharp salute. For a second, the world froze. A captain saluting a private. Not because of rank, not because of time in service, but because of what I had proven. The squad inhaled as one. You could hear the surprise ripple through them, but not a word was spoken. Slowly, almost reluctantly, Collins's hand lifted. He saluted too. For the first time, it wasn't forced or mocking. It was respect. Real respect. That moment hit harder than anything else I'd endured. When Ramirez dismissed us, the squad moved off in pairs and groups, chatter returning, but different now. Daniel stopped me on the way back to the barracks, awkward as hell. "Hey, about before. All of it. Guess I was wrong." He didn't wait for my answer, just kept walking. That was enough. Inside the barracks, I pulled out the photo of my father and set it on the bunk. The edges were worn, the image faded, but his eyes were the same, steady, unshaken. I whispered under my breath, so soft no one else could hear. "I hope I made you proud." For the first time, I believed I had. Later that night, the squad sat in the dim light, boots lined under bunks, rifles clean and ready. Hernandez leaned over and said quietly, "They'll follow you now. You know that, right?" I didn't answer right away. I just let the weight of his words sink in. Maybe he was right. Maybe something had shifted for good. That's the thing about the military. Respect isn't bought. It isn't handed out. It's earned in the mud, in the silence after the shouting stops, in the eyes of the men who once doubted you. And that morning under the flag, with the salute still burning in my mind, I knew I had finally earned mine. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters of this journey. The wind was sharp that morning as the flag rippled overhead, the sun breaking through the clouds just enough to paint the field in gold. Johnson stood alone for a moment after dismissal, eyes steady, boots rooted to the concrete, the salute from his captain still burning in memory. Around him, soldiers moved back toward the barracks, their chatter fading into the distance. And then, almost quietly, almost reluctantly, men began to pause. Hernandez first, then Adams, then even Daniels. One by one, they turned back. No words, no orders. Just silent nods, the kind that carry more weight than a medal. Even Collins, stiff and bitter to the end, gave the smallest tilt of his head before walking away. Johnson didn't chase the moment. He simply stood there under the flag, still and unshaken, the embodiment of what it means to endure. That image, one soldier standing tall beneath the colors, finally seen for who he was, stays with you. Because this story isn't only about Johnson. It's about all of us who have been underestimated, doubted, or silenced. It's about how prejudice and arrogance can wound, but resilience and quiet strength can outlast them. In the military, you learn fast that words don't win respect. Actions do. And the hardest battles aren't always fought with rifles. They're fought in silence, when the weight of the world tells you to quit, but you don't. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You reap what you sow. These aren't just sayings. They're truths proven every day by those who keep marching when it's easier to stop, who hold the line when no one else will. If this story touched something in you, share your thoughts in the comments. Let us know your own moments of struggle and triumph. Hit the like button if you felt the weight of Johnson's journey, and subscribe so you won't miss the next story. We're in this together, brothers, sisters, veterans, families. Until next time, stand tall, stay strong, and know you're never alone.